Hi there, my name is Gabriel Morris. I'm author of Following My Thumb, A Decade of Unabashed Wanderlust, which chronicles my adventurous travels throughout the 1990s around the world, from Europe to the continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, and India. There's more than 26 different travel stories in here. So I'm going to relate one of the stories that occurred in Hawaii. This is chapter 17, titled, When Dealing with the Authorities, Try to Keep Your Clothes On. And I had a rather distinct experience with authorities without my clothes. So a big chunk of the book is about my experience in Hawaii, in which I lived in the rainforest in this idyllic valley on the island of Kauai for 5 weeks. Actually, that was just the first section, and then I went back and spent even more time there. So this is my second time going back into this valley, and lots of people camp out there without bothering to get permits, and I was one of those people. You could only stay 5 days otherwise. But the rangers don't come around that often. They have to helicopter in. So I'm out in this valley. I've been there for I don't know how long, a few days, but I was planning to stay there for a couple of weeks. I'd backpacked in, a couple of weeks worth of food. And one day I'm out on the beach in the nude, because it's the middle of nowhere and lots of people go nude out there. And all I have is like a book and my sarong to wrap around myself. But at one point then I left the book and the sarong sitting in the sand and went off on a little wander, just to walk down the beach. And out of the blue, I see this long line of commando military looking dudes coming down a trail towards the beach. And I'd heard about this scenario before. I understood that what had happened is they'd helicoptered in to a different landing pad further away from the beach area so as to be more sneaky about it, and were coming in to check permits and kick people out who didn't have their permits, and I was one of those people without a permit. So I see them coming, and my first thought is, I don't want to be naked standing there talking to a park ranger or whatever their title was. So I start walking back towards my sarong on the beach. But these guys are getting fairly close, and so this guy comes out from the trail onto the beach and starts walking briskly towards me, yelling after me, "What are you doing walking away from me?" And he automatically obviously suspects I'm one of the people without a permit. But I keep walking, get back to my sarong almost at the same time he gets up to me, put my sarong on. At least now I can talk with this guy with some clothes on. And so he writes me up a ticket. The problem is I don't have any ID, and I give him a story and tell him that I'm camped somewhere else, not at the campground that's right near the beach there. I'm camped somewhere else, so I don't have my permit, I don't have any ID or anything. So he says, well, I'm going to write you up a ticket then. What's your social security number? I give him a false social security number. He hands me the ticket, and so I walk back to my tent, throw the ticket away. It's useless at that point because it's the wrong social security number, so I've at least avoided a fine. And start packing up my stuff, because these guys are going to hang around for a couple days. That's the way that I've heard it, is they hang around, they scour the area and look for people that are camped hidden away back in the forest. So I pack up my stuff, get the hell out of there, and then I go to this very secluded spot that I know about, where I'm hoping that they won't find me there, and set up my tent and my camp and just resolve to hide it out for the next couple of days. So I spend the next couple of days sort of dodging the rangers, listening for them, venturing out, and because I don't want to just sit in my tent the whole time. And I have one really close call where I hear some rangers. I think one of them actually sees me. I jump into this large bush, this very, very large bush with all these other sort of shrubs around it. And the guy ends up looking for me for I don't know how long. And I managed to hide deep enough in this bush that he never found me. So at one point, then I hike up a trail that goes further up a valley that goes away from this beach. And, pardon me, various bugs here in the woods. So I'm off on my hike, and suddenly I hear movement, and I think, oh crap, there's a ranger in the woods. I freeze, I look up into the woods where the noise came from, and it's definitely not a ranger. It is a very beautiful young woman. And she stops and she freezes. Who's this guy in the woods? Because she's obviously freaked out about the rangers as well. And then she looks at me, looks a little closer, and she says, "Gabriel?" I say, "Heather?" It's a woman I know from elsewhere on the island, because I've been living in Hawaii for the past number of months. So we walk up to each other and are just totally grateful to see each other, give each other a big hug. We might have both been naked at the time, I forget. And so she recounts her tale, and she got a ticket as well, but then resolved to stay hidden away here. And we were just so grateful to see each other, because we've both been going through this alone. So we talk, and then she says, well, since you're at this certain spot you're at, the safe spot that I was in, why don't I come down and join you, and then we can, hang out together. And I'm, of course, all for that. She's really awesome. I didn't know her well, but had spent a bit of time with her here and there. And so I help her move her camp down to my area, and finally the rangers take off the next day. And so now we have the beauty of this tropical paradise to enjoy together, and nothing romantic ever happened between us. Maybe it could have, but she had to get back to work or something after a few days. So we just had a couple of amazing days together. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from the book in which I recount that experience. Just that last little bit of hanging out with Heather. It's just a couple of paragraphs here. We had a blast spending precious, priceless time together, sharing stories and lazy days. Heather was easy to get along with. She was a woman who seemed to know how to handle her feminine allure. She was neither stuck up about it nor overly reserved. She was empowered without lacking humility. She was confident, but not cold and distant. She was mysterious without being inaccessible. I could totally relate to her, even as I was practically knocked off my feet just being around her. She neither flaunted nor hid her feminine being. She was a genuine creature of love and beauty, and I enjoyed just being around her open and forthright humanness. Needless to say, I was sad when she left. I planned to stay in the valley for another 5 days or so on my own before heading back to work on the farm where I was working, which is where I knew her from. But there's really nothing more a person can ask for in life than that rare and unique occasion when two people totally click together. Whether for a few days or a lifetime, you're lucky if it happens at all. I knew I would likely see her again around the island, and maybe even back on the mainland sometime, somewhere. And I knew also that it probably wouldn't be quite the same. But then I guess it never really is the same, is it? So that's a little bit from Chapter 17, When Dealing with the Authorities, Try to Keep Your Clothes On, from June of 1998. Following my thumb, a decade of unabashed wanderlust. If you're curious to hear some more of my travel tales, check the link down below. Thanks for watching.